I want to get the pulse of everyone watching before we jump into the meat and potatoes of today's show. Who do you think should start Week 16? Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix? For me, the answer is clear. Michael Penix. But if you feel like the rookie is not ready and the Falcons' best chance of making the playoffs is sticking by the veteran, then type 18, I suppose. I'm trying to remember the last time a win did not feel like a win as much as this one did. The fact that Desmond Ridder had 2 cracks from 35 yards out to tie and possibly win the game tells you everything about the overall reaction to Atlanta's win on Monday Night Football against the Raiders. But let's talk about some of the news and rumors coming out of it, like the quarterback position, because for the first time, we started to get Raheem Morris to come to our side of things when it comes to starting Michael Penix. After the game, Morris said on Kirk Cousins, he wants to play better, he has to play better. We have to play better at that quarterback position. How is the quarterback position a we thing? It's the only position that's manned by like one person, right? I guess the offensive line, but for the most part, like there's just one quarterback. It's not a we. I understand that he's trying to absorb all the blame and not single out a player, and that's a good, noble thing to do. But we have to play better. Just spit it out. It's Kirk has to play better. That's what he has to say. Now, Cousins also acknowledged that he needs to play better, which is not a new thing. Kirk has not been shying away from this, saying, I do think I need to play better. I don't think that's a mystery. So hopefully Raheem Morris will walk away from this win and go, we might need to really consider changing things up. The only explanation I can come up with as to why they haven't already is it is out of Raheem Morris's control. And if that's the case, then we have a puppet government going on with the Falcons where Arthur Blank in the front office, God forbid Rich McKay, is calling the shots at the quarterback position. And Morris is there to just like be a baseball manager. And here's the lineup. You get to play these guys and go do the best with that. But overall, this team has no confidence in Kirk Cousins. And I'm not saying that from an opinion standpoint. I have actual numbers to back this up. On Monday night, the Falcons on 1st and 10 called a run 23 times. They called a pass once. Just one time, they felt confident to let Kirk Cousins drop back on 1st and 10 and throw the football. Do you want to guess what happened on that one time? He threw an interception. So yeah, I don't really knock Zach Robinson for not having a ton of confidence in Kirk Cousins. The lone opportunity he gets on 1st and 10 to pick up, some chunk of yardage, he throws it to the other team. So what do the Falcons do? They take the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hands. And if you're curious how this relates to the entire season as a whole going into Monday night, weeks 1 through 14 on 1st down, they were calling pass 42% of the time. They have lost all faith in Kirk Cousins. They are trying to keep this thing afloat, and they will not acknowledge the biggest issue on the team, and that is the quarterback position. The Falcons are handicapping themselves. They are not allowing themselves to play to their full potential because they are remaining steadfast on playing 18 when he clearly is not helping the team win. He is holding them back. It's a tough thing to hear. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it is the truth, and the play calling speaks to that. They won't even let the guy they gave $100 million guaranteed to throw the football on 1st and 10. They called 17 pass plays for him. Think about it. There's Zach Robinson, headset on. He's up in the booth, and he's got 2 options. Run, pass. And he refuses to look at pass because he has a feeling, and it's a good feeling, that bad things are going to happen. We are one more Kirk Cousins interception away from basically running a triple option offense of just run, run, run. There's just no confidence in Kirk. And when the locker room knows that, because how couldn't they know that? Just look around. It's so obvious. It just deflates the entire roster. The offense goes on the field, and they feel like we've got one hand tied behind our back because they know we're going to run it, because we have no faith in our quarterback to throw it. And that's just going to make Bijan's life more difficult as the game progresses. And by the second and third and fourth quarter, defense starts to notice, man, have you guys picked up that every time they're in pistol, they run the football? And they haven't passed on 1st and 10 once today? So let's just blitz. Let's just send everything we got at Robinson. And if they happen to beat us through the air, we'll live with it. What do you think is going to happen by the fourth quarter in a close game when you want to run the football and you can't because they're sending 7, 8, probably 9 guys at some point after the running back? There's no balance to this offense, and that is going to lead this team into the trenches. It's going to drive them straight into the ground. Please make a change. It is killing this team. Before we get on to the rest of today's episode, we are closing in on 31,000 subscribers. This December, we have picked up 499 subs. Last December, for reference, we had 729. So we're on a decent pace to beat what we did all of last year in the month of December. So let's make this the best December to remember and click that subscribe button down below. If you're curious where things stand going into Week 16, the Falcons at 7-7 have some work to do. If you're just kind of starting to wake up to the playoff picture, they are 1 game behind the Buccaneers. We're going to do a full playoff breakdown on our next episode and talk about maybe a wild card path for Atlanta if they can't catch up to the Bucs. But it's pretty simple. The Falcons have to finish in the last 3 games with a better record than Tampa does. If they match, it goes to the Bucs because they have a 1-game lead right now. If both teams finish with the same record, it goes to Atlanta because they have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So you look at the Falcons' remaining schedule and the Buccaneers' remaining schedule. Tampa must lose one of these games for Atlanta to have any chance. Now, if the Falcons go 3-0 and finish 9-8, or that'd be 10-7, sorry, and the Buccaneers also go 3-0 and finish, what would that be, 11-6, there could be a playoff spot for Atlanta in the wild card race, which is what I want to discuss on our next episode. But for today's purpose, I just wanted to go over the very brief and simplistic view of what does Atlanta need to do to make the playoffs? They need the Bucs to lose at least 1 game, and they have to be perfect. And they looked far from perfect against the Raiders. Quick shout out to our friends over at Factor. Notice how the days are shorter, but your to-do lists aren't? Power through your busy days with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. From breakfast to dinner and anything in between, Factor has easy, nutritious options to keep you fueled and feeling your best. Whether you like routine or you enjoy mixing things up, Factor has you covered with 35 delicious different meals every single week and over 60 additional convenience options you can add to your next box. Because Factor meals are chef-prepared and dietitian approved, you are going to love not only how they taste, but also how they support your goals. Head to factormeals.com/50FalconsChat and use code 50FalconsChat to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code 50FalconsChat at factormeals.com/50FalconsChat to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping while your subscription is active. I put all that information for you guys in the comments and description of today's video. So I do want to talk about some of the bright spots that came out of the win because I feel like there was some good things to write home about, and that's special teams. I mean, aside from Younghoe Koo's missed field goal, which we will talk about, Kadarius Hodge was freaking awesome. He is a Pro Bowl special teamer. He blocked 2 punts. He has made a lot of key plays for them. Remember, he had the touchdown for the Falcons in the Saints game at home. Remember, that was the game where Atlanta did not score a single offensive touchdown and still won the game because of field goals and Kadarius Hodge. So he has been so fun to watch this year on special teams. And a third of the football doesn't get a ton of attention, ton of credit, but when they make a bad play, it's on full display. But when they make a good play, we got to give them just as much credit as we do for an offensive play or a defensive play. Unfortunately, Younghoe Koo happened again. He missed like a 42-yarder. So here are his numbers. He is 73% of the season, 30-39, 5 for 7. He's missed twice. 40 through 49, he is now 7 of 11 and 6 of 9 beyond 50. I know he had some big kicks earlier, but the misses at this point have stacked up too much to let that balance things out. So I was thinking about this last night before I went to bed after the win. Who is more likely, in your opinion, to make a season-ending mistake for the Falcons? Is it Younghoe Koo missing what could be a playoff ceiling 45-yard kick? Or is it Kirk Cousins with the ball in the last 2 minutes and a chance to win the game and he throws an interception? I know this is kind of a dark, morbid question, but they're 7-7. And honestly, all I can think of is one of these two things is bound to happen. And I'm leaning towards the first. Like, Kirk is somehow going to not figure it out, but the defense and Bijan will push them through the first or next 2 games. And then Koo, to beat the Panthers to go to the playoffs, is going to miss a 45-yarder. That's my nightmare right now. Second bright spot I want to talk about is the defense. I did not think we would be talking about the defense as a bright spot, especially in the pass rush department after the first 11 weeks of the season when they had 10 sacks. And over the last 3 games, they have put together 13 sacks. They have 3 more sacks in the last 3 games compared to the first 10 games of the season. It has been a dramatic turnaround, and it hasn't been a result of Matthew Judon or some of your more notable names coming to play. I got D'Angelo Malone coming up with 2 sacks, a primary special teamer making plays. You've got Kentavious Street making big plays. It is not the usual suspects, if there were any usual suspects, from the first 10 games of the year. However, what's mind-blowing to me is, despite having 13 sacks in 3 games, they're still dead last in sacks. It's almost impressive. I don't know how I can look this stat up, but I'm going to try and figure out a way to look up if a team has ever had a 3-game stretch with 13 sacks and finished in the season just bottom 5 in sacks. But Atlanta's pass rush is still overall in the season lagging behind, but the last couple of weeks has been much, much better. They are 27th in pressures and pressure percentage, and they are 32nd in sacks. So it's time to give credit where credit is due. Jimmy Lake and this defense, sure, they play Desmond Ridder in a Raiders offense that has virtually no weapons outside of Brock Bowers and an offensive line that's in need of major repair, but they came to play. They can only play the team in front of them, and they did their absolute best and did a great job, I would say, against the Raiders for about 57 minutes up until the last 2 Las Vegas drives. So credit to Jimmy Lake and this defense. Really good performance on Monday night. Third bright spot I just want everyone to start picking up on is Bijan Robinson, I think, could be the number 1 running back in the NFL in 2025. He has crossed 1,000 yards on the season. He has 9 total touchdowns, nearly 500 receiving yards. He'll likely pass what he did in his rookie season in that department. He has the second most amount of games of 100-plus yards from scrimmage this year, and I think over the last 2 seasons combined as well, but don't quote me on that part. Bijan has been fantastic. Sure, he's getting plenty of touches, so there's more opportunities for yards, but still, Bijan Robinson has been the workhorse for this team. In fact, the last 3 games, he's had at least 22 carries, which, if you're wondering how common that is, not all that common. It's the first time since Josh Jacobs in 2022 where a running back in a 3-game span had 22 or more carries. It's only happened 4 times since 2020. Derrick Henry, who did it plenty of times in 2021, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, and now Bijan Robinson. And I think next year it'll be Robinson and Barkley as the NFL's RBs 1 and 2, and don't sleep on the young'un who is rising the ranks. So let's show the guy some love because he has been essentially the only consistent thing on offense amid this 5-game drought, we'll call it. We can include the Raiders' win in this stretch right here. Darnell Mooney's been injured. He does not look 100%. Unfortunately, with how bad Kirk Cousins is, that's severely impacting Drake London. But Bijan has been the lone consistent thing throughout it all. So, Bijan, thank you. Before we sign off, I just want to show some love to the Dirty Birds Club. Thank you guys so much for tuning in throughout this entire season, even though it's had a lot of ups and downs. It's always good to see the same names and faces in the chat. Look forward to seeing you guys at the remaining watch parties of the season. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss those watch parties, and I'll see you all next time.